what do you feel that Balint has brought to your life personally and professionally that you think you would not have gotten or obtained otherwise?
Oh, I would love to start off with that.
But Mary had her hand.
But I had my hand up.
Lots of us have our hand up.
Okay.
The introverts have had their hands up.
Number one.
We don't show.
Number two, are you
Mine
number
is
three?
just a
Okay,
little
start with ladies first.
These are
and
my
my
big
ladies
yoga.
Go ahead.
Well, now I'm not sure I want to go first.
Okay, you go first.
I can't believe that, Mary, knowing
I
you.
got nervous all of a sudden.
Good.
So should I go first?
Yes.
So I want to say two different ways. And you're cutting and pasting, right? So it doesn't have to all flow from each other. So the first thing is, and this, at the risk of sounding mundane, I'm going to have to put an arm around my mentor, Laurel Milberg, and say that I learned how you create an organization in Balint work. So, and that has helped me enormously in my roles as residency director, chair, etc. And how you create structure, organization, governance, bylaws, not to mention the most important when it's time to step down and let the next generation take over, and how to train up that generation. So that's been, I don't know how I would have managed my life without those skills. And the second important set of skills, or just the actual doctor-patient relationship, talking to people skills. So in politics, when I get confused or I'm not sure exactly what's happening, I remember to take time to reflect. I just either in the moment or afterwards use those skills of actually putting myself in someone else's shoes, developing an empathic understanding of what's going on, and deciding when to make an intervention and when to just let it all go. So that's been helpful for me in my career, and I couldn't have done it as well without my Balint colleagues.
Thank you.
That's
Marvelous.
Introvert.
Who, him?
Yeah, it might be more than you know.
The introverts have their hands up.
All that is big toe up.
Could you cut the back chatter so the man could talk?
I look on my time in Balint and with Balint as the most significant professional thing that I've done in my career. And I see it as the real foundation of the education of any healthcare provider. And my focus has been primarily in family medicine because that's where I was teaching, and primarily the orientation of the people that I've been working with. At a more personal level, I have enjoyed the intimacy with colleagues and also with residents in a way through Balint that I think I have not found in any other way in teaching in family medicine. And I look at the basic message of Balint work as absolutely central in medical education. And I'm certainly willing to see it spread to other professions, and have just focused in medicine because that's where I dropped my anchor in '72. It's enough.
Thank you.
And so I would like to say I agree, and I can say the same as Mary and Alan also said, but I have a little bit different story because I came to Balint later than everyone else on this panel. And I was trained as a qualitative researcher and I was trained as a psychologist, and in both those areas I'm on the outside in many ways. I'm a participant observer, but I'm a participant observer. I'm not an actual participant in some way. So I was very cautious about joining organizations because it would compromise my ability to look at them when I researched them, or it's the same reason why you don't have dual relationships with clients, so you can see them more clearly. So when Frank Dornfest came to Santa Rosa, he got me involved. I was actually doing a different type of group, which I'm still doing, called personal and professional development groups. And he got me involved in the Balint work and kind of dragged my expertise in qualitative research into Balint and had me come to the 94 International. And slowly, I got involved with it and saw the people involved in this organization and what they stood for. And it was very, very appealing to me. And I remember, Frank's not here to clarify this so I can speak freely, but I remember in Oxford in 1998 when I was there, sleepless, totally jet lagged, and we took a walk in a little quad of whatever college we were staying in. And he said to me, he said, Rich, you know, you have to decide whether you're going to be on the outside of these organizations or whether you're going to join. And I was chewing over this. It was a very hard decision for me. And eventually, I decided to join the organization. And I remember Mary dragged me into the officership after I was elected to the council. And she said, will you be, you know, president-elect? After a while. And then, so I was in with both feet at that point. And so for the next, 10 years or something, I guess, however long you're on council, I found enormous satisfaction in just being able to work hard for an organization and for a way of being that I believed in so strongly, and in helping other people do that, and using my skills to do that. And that was very gratifying, very hard to go off council, by the way, as you guys all know in some ways. But the best part for me, and coming back to your question, the best part for me about the ballot work that I did is the people. There's no second isn't even close to that, but just having relationships with the people and getting to know them and what great people they are.
Great. Thank you.
I have learned so much from my colleagues, and from the first Balint group I attended, I knew it was just right for me. But the idea of being part of an organization of people who know so much and always knew so much more than I did, and whom I could also trust, is a unique experience which nothing, as Rich said, nothing will ever come close to it in my life, actually. I had tried to be active in a whole lot of organizations and had supposedly important roles, but they were empty shells. The people, the standards, were so defective that I didn't want to be counted among them once I got to know them. This group I'm proud to be part of every single time I'm with these people.
Thank you.
Can I say something that I'm not going to say at the end? And then Clive, and then you can all leave. You just helped me put into a thought something that I will proceed to forget if I don't say it. This is the only... Back up. People always say, when I teach, I learn so much from my learners. And yeah, okay, that's true. But I never could relate to that a whole lot, because I always felt, when I'm teaching, I'm sweating, I'm teaching, you know, I'm working, man. And I do learn some things from them, but not that much, you know, maybe some. Maybe I just don't realize it. This is the only group of people I have ever been in with where, like, I'm teaching them because I know something they want to know. And I'm constantly learning something from them that I don't know. And it feels great both ways. It's like the only group of people that I go, okay, I'm going to channel Clive now. Okay, I'm going to channel Mary now. Okay, and I'm always picking something up that I didn't have before. And then the next minute, I'm teaching somebody something I hope to give them. And it's so seamless, and it's the only place I've ever lived where it's seamless like that. And you helped me just figure that. Maybe it's the same thing you said.
And it helps you challenge yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets in touch with who I really am,
Yeah.
which I lose other times.
You're welcome.
It's hard to add to what has already been said because I resonate with everything people have said. So to try and find something that is unique to me is more of a challenge. So I'll just start at this most superficial level and say that when I set out in practice, my love was for internal medicine, and it still is for internal medicine. I still see myself as a GP internist. But it became apparent to me through my own immersion in general practice that the skills I had weren't meeting my needs at all for job satisfaction. And it's only once I was introduced to the Balint group by my colleagues in Cape Town that I began to transform myself from a GP into a family physician in the best sense of the word. I have learned from the people I've worked with, not in so much as they have given me a piece of concrete new information, but they've raised questions in my mind which I have found fascinating and with an obsessive need have tried to answer. And I can only learn best from my own experience, where I start off by immersing myself in a situation and learning the rules from the inside. I don't know how to follow directions at all, but I've got to find the way for myself. And Balint has given me such a unique platform and opportunity for doing that kind of work. And I have never worked with a group of people like I have found in the Balint movement, both here and overseas. I feel more at home with my colleagues here than I do with those overseas, because I find that we are a little tighter, we're a little more disciplined, we define the terms that we use clearly. We don't talk in generalities. It's not that I don't value generalities, it's that I don't understand generalities. And this has been an enormously fortuitous good fit for me. I wouldn't have imagined that this was something that I would be fascinated by, and in an enduring way. I've never lost my inquisitiveness for the work we do. So I can't imagine what medical practice would have been like for me without the insights I learned from Balint work. I just can't imagine it. I think I'd have given up. Certainly I'd have given up general practice and imagined that I'd have found job satisfaction in internal medicine. I think that's what I was on the verge of doing, and I wouldn't have.
So you asked what Balint work did for me personally.
Yes.
So basically, it was the way I was introduced to do my job. I had no idea how to do this job called behavioral science in a family practice residency program. And I was asked to do this in 1977. And furthermore, back then, nobody could tell me how to do this job. But somebody said to me, actually my program director had been in a Balint group, and he's as a practicing physician, and he said, I think you should run Balint groups in this residency. And I went, sure. And then I had to go figure out what those were. So that's how I found Rex Pittenger, and basically Balint groups became how I did my job as a behavioral scientist. Yes, I did all kinds of other things like giving conferences and stuff. But this was the core of how to teach behavioral science or any part of it that mattered to these residents. So it was how I did my job. It was how I could translate what I knew as a psychologist to what family doctors needed to know as family doctors. It was a way to do that that kept them very close to their role and didn't try to pull them into being little miniature psychologists, and therefore very uncomfortable. And it's how I learned to teach. It's a very guide on the side instead of sage on the stage way of teaching, and that is the purest, as far as I'm concerned, way of helping professional grown-ups grow into their skills and their role. And so it made me who I am as a teacher. And that's really it, including everything that everybody else said about introducing me to all these wonderful, brilliant people who bend my mind every time I'm with them, which is not an experience you can get every day. So.
Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, one of the themes that I've heard again and again is that, you know, that when first exposed to it, the word or just some of the people, that there's really little sense of what kind of depth it holds and what kind of experiences that can open oneself up to.
Right. It's a difficult thing for people because, especially in a very fix-it mode kind of profession, which medicine can be lured into being, it is completely counter to that. It's the slow, you've heard people talk about learning from the inside out. It's the only kind of learning I trust indoors, in my opinion. It's the hardest, longest, slowest, hardest to evaluate. You could be imagining that anything is happening and can't prove it, and yet for 37 years I watched one group of residents after another get it and change into different kinds of family doctors than they would have been if they hadn't been exposed. Can I prove it? No. Have I seen it? Yes. Is it easy? No. Is it fast? Not at all. And can you always explain it? With difficulty. Now, how do you sell something like that? But it works.
Well, because it even, with what you're saying there, it even can be perceived by some as threatening initially, because it is so much of a departure or difference from that being in that fix-it mode, or that, you know, the comfort, maybe the false comfort that comes from the sense that there is an answer.
Right.
There is some sort of concrete solution.
And the answer, the need to have an answer, comes from my own anxiety about what is wrong with that person, either for myself or my family members, or my fantasies about not being able to help this person at all, or whatever. So I'm being motivated by all my transference crap, and I don't even know it, right? So I'm pushing at this disease or this problem, and that never works. I mean, when did that ever work, right? So it's totally counterproductive. And yet, if I'm supposed to walk into a group of people, trust them to say, I completely don't know what I'm doing, basically, here. This is not going the way I want it to go. Can you help me? That's not the way medical case discussions evolve. You know, this is what I know, now shoot it down. I mean, that's oversimplifying, but there's a lot of that. And this is completely the opposite. And yes, that is very threatening.
And how do you then, with new residents, students, start trying to engage them or demystify what this is about a little bit?
I think when you're trying to get people, to at least come and see what it's like, which to me is the only way you can demystify it, is to do what John talked about, you know, to just do a group and then sit down and talk about what happened there and ask them if they think that could be helpful to them. But first you have to get them there. And he just put a post in a bulletin for professionals and got 10 people, I'm amazed. The way of introducing it into some place where it doesn't exist, and I'm looking at that now with emergency room personnel, doctors and nurses that I'm working with, is to identify with their pain, to empathize with their angst about how unsatisfying their work is, or how frustrating their work is, or how certain patients make them feel completely de-skilled or furious or sad or whatever. And if I connect with them and they think somebody's going to listen to that, then they might very well come to see if there's a place where they can get more of that in a disciplined way. I mean, a lot of times people are lured into that and they think, oh, I'm coming to bitch, and somehow that'll be good. And Balint isn't just bitching. I mean, you have to work hard at coming to another place. So sometimes a demonstration works and sometimes it doesn't, and that's partially based on what kind of culture you're trying to start a Balint group in. If there's no trust, if it's very cutthroat, if it's very suspicious, if it's very unsafe, it's probably pretty unsafe to start a Balint group, and they know it, and you'd be kind of a fool, I think. I'd be a fool to try to invite them into doing it.
So it does require an empathy and an awareness of the current kind of climate of the culture you're in, and how to address, how this might be relevant to the pain that they're experiencing in their work.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you
you so much.
Thank you for doing this, David.